Hello guys, welcome back. I hope everyone is doing great. So in today's video, we're working through a sample set from a house that I sort of recently discovered, maybe about 6 months ago. I already own a few full bottles from this house. I was so impressed, and I'm really excited to go through the sample set and talk about what some of these fragrances smell like. And we are talking about the house of LilaNur, which is a house that was born in Madurai in India, and the perfumes themselves are crafted in Grasse in France. And the sample set comes in this really nice turquoise colored box, and inside we have 7 fragrances, and in the box comes this really great card that opens up and sort of discusses each of the 7 fragrances and gives a little blurb and the prominent note of which the fragrance focuses on. So it's a really nice sample set. I really enjoy a lot of these fragrances. Like I said, I own 2 full bottles, and I feel like this sample set definitely covers a nice variety of scent profiles. You have your florals, you have your jasmine, you have your tuberose, you have 2 that are focused on rose, one more than the other. There's a vetiver fragrance, there's a cedar wood fragrance, and then lastly is an oud fragrance. I never smelled the oud fragrance and I never smelled the cedar wood fragrance, but I did spray some of the other ones, and obviously the ones that I own, I know what those smell like. So let's start with Incarnation, and this one has this really nice ambery colored juice. And Incarnation is described as an effervescent and a majestic chypre fragrance. It's shimmering with a bouquet of aldehydes, Indian jasmine, rose and orris, and complemented by mystical touches of amber, incense, and patchouli. So this one is one of the full bottles that I own. I think it's one of the great ones in this sample set. And to me, this is a beautiful, beautiful, unique rose fragrance. It is aldehydic. It is almost like incense filled, and it features a dewy rose that comes off wet and fresh to my nose. So imagine a dewy, powdery, luscious rose, because at the same time it's very lush, with this beautiful sort of backdrop of incense, aldehydes. It's effervescent, and the reason I purchased this was to use it as a summertime rose fragrance. Towers Incense Rose is another one that's beautiful as a summer, warm weather rose fragrance. I purchased this one. It's beautiful. Really beautiful. In the backdrop, you have the hints of the patchouli as it dries down, but overall the fragrance is wet, it's dewy, it's fresh, and I feel that it is predominantly rose. It does have the orris, and so there is something a little powdery, and it does have the jasmine, but to me, it's a beautiful rose incense aldehydic fragrance. It's considered a chypre fragrance, and it does have sort of an old world construction, old world style, but absolutely modern, absolutely relevant, absolutely beautiful. Very nice, but you have to like an aldehydic fragrance because that's how this is delivered. So Incarnation is so pretty. I like this one. So the next one is a jasmine fragrance, and this is Mallie Insolite. And this is described as an alluring perfume in which the beautiful floral scent of the iconic Indian jasmine is enhanced by intriguing mineral notes. So this one is the second bottle that I own, a full bottle of. And this one is one of the most interesting jasmine fragrances in my collection, or that I've gotten my nose on. It's a beautiful, beautiful jasmine forward fragrance. But what's interesting about this is that my interpretation is a little different from the interpretation of others from what I've read, and the fact that this has mineral notes. So I do not interpret the jasmine as being complemented by something mineral or something almost ozonic. That's not the way it comes off to my nose. I experience this fragrance as a full-bodied floral, almost indolic jasmine that comes along with the green stems and leaves, and it's everything spiced about the jasmine. And along with this jasmine is this smoky, peppery sort of aspect, and that's how I interpret the mineral notes in here. It comes off like peppered jasmine, the spice pepper. And there's something almost a little smoky. So I feel like the fragrance is juxtaposed. I feel like you have this jasmine that's present from the opening all the way to the dry down. In fact, in the dry down, it dries down to a beautiful jasmine fragrance. It might lose a little bit of the mineral aspects, what they're calling mineral notes, what I'm calling sort of smoky pepper. Very, very interesting. Very beautiful, very jasmine forward, and it's just really pretty. And I don't have a jasmine that's contrasted with something smoky peppery like this. I feel like it dirties the jasmine, or there's jasmine behind this like smoke of pepper, if that makes sense. That's the image that I have of the way the fragrance wafts off my skin. And the jasmine is super prominent, super prominent. It's really nice. It's a very interesting take on jasmine. It's very exotic. I think exotic would be the right way to describe this. As is Incarnation, very exotic, different take on these notes. And that's why I was so impressed. Something different to add to my collection. Almost a little smoky. It's very interesting. So that's Mallie Insolite. So the next one is Rajni Nocturne, and this is Night Tuberose. This one, I've smelled this, and this is a great one. I really like this. Let's read what they say as I'm getting wafts of this beautiful, beautiful. This needs to be a full bottle as well. So it says here, the narcotic scent of night blooming tuberose is boosted by notes of jasmine, ylang ylang, and soft musk, conjuring the atmosphere of an enchanted Indian evening. So this tuberose, it's absolutely stunning. There is a coconut, I think, that's contrasting or supporting the tuberose so that it's creamy and milky, and the tuberose has a little bit of the green, but it's not too green. I feel like the jasmine and what I'm perceiving as like a coconut, milky sort of aspect is sort of muting some of the green that can come along with tuberose, and it's just intoxicating. And it's beautiful, and it's very, very similar to sort of what Moon Bloom by the House of Hiam Green does with tuberose. Very, very similar take on tuberose. And I think I saw Carnal Flower by the House of Frederick Malle on Profumo as a fragrance listed as one that smells similar to this one. And I could see absolutely how this take on tuberose is similar to Carnal Flower. So if you like the interpretation of tuberose in Carnal Flower or in Moon Bloom, you would love this one. It's really creamy. There's ylang ylang in here as well. And it's a spicy tuberose that's so creamy, so luscious, so opulent, and so beautiful. Love this one as well. So far we have a beautiful Sheep Refresh take on rose. We have an interesting mineral note / jasmine fragrance, another beautiful one. And this one is a gorgeous take on tuberose. Maybe you could say that this one has been done before. It's not a unique take on tuberose, but it's very well done. Very, very well done. Very nice. So the next one is Gul Rouge. Let's read what they say about this one. So it says here that Gul Rouge captures the fresh, pure, dewy quality of roses as they are warmed by the sun's first rays outside a temple at dawn. So there's a reference to a temple, there's a reference to dewy roses, and so this one is a rose-centric fragrance. This is a different sort of rose than Incarnation. Incarnation has the rose with the jasmine as well, but this one is a full, opulent, red velvet rose with a lot of green, and there's incense in addition to the rose, and the incense is sort of a temple vibe incense, and it's illuminating this rose. You have to like rose prominent fragrances to like this one. The rose is in your face. It's a strong fragrance. It seems strong off the blotter. The rose is illuminated with this incense, and I get a lot of green, and it sort of reminds me just a little bit of Rose and Queer by the house of Frederic Malle, although that one is completely, totally super green. This one is not as green, but it's a fragrance that is as strong as that one. It's a fragrance that is a little bit simple to my nose, and it seems sort of linear, which is fine, but it seems that it's focused on rose and the incense, and I'm getting the green aspects, like green stems and leaves of the rose, but it is all about rose. It's rich. It's a rich, opulent take on rose. I'm not sure that it's a rose fragrance that I would wear. It seems like the rose is really strong. I like my roses in fragrance maybe offset a little bit, and here it's really front and center. And maybe it's the incense that's sort of highlighting the rose as well. It's a very, very strong rose fragrance, very, very rose prominent. The rose is red, the rose is lush, and it might be a little too strong for me, but it's nice, it's deep, and the incense is opulent in here. So that's Gul Rouge. So the next one is called Vetiver Musan, and this is about vetiver and about jasmine, and let's see what they say about this fragrance. So this one is described as a sophisticated, nuanced perfume that evokes the transition from summer to monsoon season in India, when a flush of jasmine mingles with the grassy scent of vetiver. So this is all about summer meeting monsoon season in India, where jasmine mingles with vetiver, the grassy aspects of vetiver. Oh wow, so this is very vetiver prominent, very earthy, very sort of grassy vetiver. I feel like I'm smelling something that's almost vegetal, but it's very, very smooth, and there's almost something. Vetiver gives me almost like a hazelnut type of scent. I associate it with the scent of hazelnuts. It's not floral, so even though they mention the jasmine, I'm not picking up a huge floral component in the fragrance. It's a beautiful vetiver fragrance that's multifaceted, and it's very full-bodied. You really do get the facets of the vetiver. It's delivered really, really beautifully, almost a little bit smoky. And if jasmine is part of the composition, and it is, I'm not detecting much of it. I perceive this as a straight up vetiver fragrance, not a vetiver fragrance that evokes like a super clean scent profile. It's more full-bodied and earthy and grassy, and there is something fresh about it, but there's also something a little bit smoky about it. It's really nice. I like it. I like vetiver fragrances, and I think sometimes vetiver fragrances can be described as a little bit masculine leaning. I happen to love vetiver fragrances. I really like this one. Maybe the more I'm smelling it off the blotter, there's a hint of jasmine, a hint of something floral, and it could just be that I'm getting sort of a multifaceted vetiver, and one of the facets could be jasmine, but it's just not meant to be a floral fragrance. It's meant to be a vetiver fragrance, and there's almost something dewy that sort of comes to mind. It conjures up an earthy, grassy, sort of dewy image in my mind. And I really like that there's a consistency to the fragrance that I can't quite put into words. It's almost something like gummy. That's the consistency. Something that I can squeeze like a marshmallow. It's really nice. Very, very nice. Very multifaceted, nice vetiver fragrance. So the next one is Davana Cedre. And this is all about Davana and cedar wood. And Davana can be balsamic, it can have fruity aspects, it can be a little herbaceous. And this one, I think, is Davana with cedar wood as a backdrop. And let's see, it smells nice. So let's see what they say about this one. So it says here, the balsamic fruitiness of Davana, an herbaceous Indian plant used in worship, harmonizes with warm, grounding cedar in the sensual and spiritual scent. So this is a spiritual scent. It includes notes that are used in worship in India. I feel like I should be practicing yoga or meditating. It's a very warm fragrance. I feel like I'm getting an incense. I feel like I'm getting something green, I guess, that comes along with the Davana. It's herbaceous. I'm absolutely getting the green, herbaceous qualities of the fragrance with an incense. And it smells very relaxing, and it's very, very different from the first three that we started with, which I would describe as these opulent, almost exotic florals. This one is calming. This one is incense, herbaceous, cedar wood. I do get pencil shavings from the cedar wood in here. I do. It's nice. I'm not a big fan of cedar wood in fragrance. It has a very raw sort of wood component to it. I feel like I'm smelling like fresh cut pieces of cedar wood that haven't been finished, that are blonde in color, and I'm smelling sort of the powder that comes along with the cutting of the wood, together with this herbaceous aspect and this incense. Very relaxing, very meditative, and it's a very nice scent profile. Not something that I would reach for. The cedar wood fragrances that I have are offset by florals and other notes. This is a completely different scent profile. I have nothing like this in my collection. And if you like the idea of what this sounds like, it's worth getting your nose on. It's very relaxing, and I like the incense in here. It's like a clean incense. This is not an incense that gives church vibes. It's an incense that sort of illuminates everything. It's an incense that seems very clean, and it's a relaxing sort of incense. And I'm not an expert on incense fragrances, and it's something that I'm delving into actually right now as we speak. I've been researching incense fragrances, and there are a few that I have my eye on. And this is the type of incense that I can appreciate. And the cedar wood is a huge component, as are the herbaceous aspects of the fragrance. So this is an interesting one. And the last one is Agar A Piece. And this is all about oud with ginger and cypriol. And let's see what the blurb says about this fragrance. So it says here, a unique, complex interpretation of oud in which sparks of ginger, cypriol, and gaiac wood give the note a uniquely bright, spicy effect. So essentially, there are other notes in here like ginger, gaiac wood, and cypriol that are complementing or contrasting the oud in the fragrance. Whoops. The samples are all really great, by the way. They all worked. I've had sample sets where I can't even get juice out of the samples. It's so frustrating. These were really great. Wow, this smells not what I expected. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Not what I expected whatsoever. There's no barnyardy, pungent oud in here. It's not a strong oud to my nose. I'm not even sure that I'm really detecting oud as a strong part of the fragrance. This is really delicious. This is very, very reminiscent of a fragrance by the house of MDCI, Le Inde Galante. And that's one that I keep saying in videos is too sweet. This seems like a nicer version. Well, to my nose, this one seems like a less sweet version of that fragrance. And it's coming off almost like a spiced Christmas cake that you would have during the holidays, during Christmas. It's like an incensey fragrance that is contrasted with like a Christmas spiced cake. I get spices like cinnamon, clove, cardamom. There's something syrupy about the fragrance. So it says here that there's oud, ginger, cypriol, gaiac wood, and Indian spices. Very resinous and ambery, and there are woods in the backdrop. So to me, it's coming off like a resinous, ambery fragrance, syrupy, spiced, with woody components in the backdrop. Absolutely, there are woody components, but nothing like a strong oud. Very, very subtle. If I put my nose all the way up to the bladder and inhale, then I might get a hint of something oud-like, but I'm really not detecting a strong oud. I find it to be a quite attractive scent profile, one that I keep wanting to sniff. And even though I keep saying that Le Inde Galante by MDCI is too sweet, there is something that keeps me going back to the fragrance. It's sort of like a syrupy, ambery, resinous, like sweetness that comes along with the fragrance, but the spices are what make it interesting. And this one is not as sweet as that one. And it's so reminiscent of that one, so that's why I keep mentioning that fragrance. I really like this. Yeah, so it's an ambery, resinous fragrance. I feel like there's something almost incensey and textured as well about the fragrance with woody components, and the spices come off together with the syrupy sweetness. The spices almost give me the feeling of like a Christmas cake or something spiced at Christmas during the holidays, and it's very delicious without being gloopy and too sweet. Interesting. I like this one. Very unisex, very nice. So that's Agar A Piece. So we're ending on a positive note. So that is my take on these 7 fragrances by the house of LilaNur. Let me know if you guys are familiar with this perfume house, if you've smelled any of these, if you own any full bottles. I own Incarnation, and I also own Mallie Insolite. I would love to own the tuberose fragrance. It's absolutely stunning. I'm gonna go through the decant and see how it performs on skin. This last one, Agar A Piece, is a nice one. I want to revisit this one. It's just the right amount of spice for me. Very interesting. So as always, thank you so much for watching, your support, and your comments. Until next time, bye guys.